Welcome back to another episode of the Creators Podcast. I'm Jeff Morris, the CMO of Visit West Hollywood, and normally I have Sarah Dandashy with me as a co-host. She's out, so I'm on my own today, and I'm talking with Liam Lynch, the CEO of Authentic, which is the company that produces the annual Halloween Carnaval in West Hollywood. If you have not been to Carnival in West Hollywood for Halloween, you have to check it out. It is an unbelievable experience, closed streets, and just the scene is crazy. And we're going to talk with Liam today about how he got into producing this. He's been doing it for over a decade. What to expect when you come, what makes it special, and why West Hollywood is the epicenter of Halloween experiences. Excited to be sitting here today with Liam Lynch. Thank you for coming on the Creators Podcast.
Absolute pleasure, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Really cool to meet you. You know, Halloween in West Hollywood is legendary. Everyone across the world knows about it. I've said this many times, is that as Visit West Hollywood, our greatest visitation to our website is always Halloween time. So Liam, why don't you just give us an overview of Halloween in West Hollywood for someone who might not know exactly what kind of spectacle it is?
If a Martian came down and
Yes.
landed at La Cienega and Santa Monica and said, which way do I go?
Right.
You are looking, and you will be treated to the greatest and most flamboyant, artistic, creative costumes and expression really on the planet. Remember, this city is rich with creative talent in many cultural genres, but also in costume design and design in general. Mm-hmm. And you will see some of those artisanal designers create their own costumes that are just out of this world. Every year there seems to be one theme or another. I'm told that Barbie is going to be high on people's visual agenda this year.
I'm sure.
But if you just came to appreciate the costumes alone, you'd have the time of your life. It's probably the greatest people watching experience on the planet at that particular night of the year. Mm-hmm. And it predates the Met Ball, and it predates Coachella, and it predates this merging and fusion of fashion with music and entertainment. West Hollywood, the great LGBTQ plus community, was there first. And guess what? They're still there, and they are most entertaining, and it's going to be great for somebody who sees this the first time. I've invited some friends and business partners to it, and they come to it and they go, what? They just can't believe it. And they can't believe it not because of anything that we would do. It's about those creators on the street, those makers of their own costumes and those collaborators of costumes where they become a scene. It's not about one character, but it's about multiple characters, and what that looks like is pretty great. It is a true cultural phenomenon, isn't it, Jeff? I mean, we'll go into our 13th year here, and it never ceases to absolutely amaze and impress me. The mass of entertaining and engaging, culturally exciting energy out there. And while we'll have featured performers and curators and visual elements, the real stars, in fact, the only stars are, those in costume on the boulevard expressing themselves. And
right.
It is for me, the greatest, largest gathering of humanity that I've ever been a part of.
Yeah. And I think just that West Hollywood is such a creative mecca. Like for me, I love to just go and watch.
Sure.
That's my jam is to just see. And it is, spectacular to see, like you said, just what individuals are putting together.
Jeff, I don't think that's any surprise, right? I mean, if you look at the history of the city and even pre-incorporation in 1984, this was the locale that the outliers, the seekers, the creative fringe artists came to congregate.
Right.
You know, that's back from Trocadero to what Lou Adler and his peers created with the Roxy and all of that. And there's a particular spirit to it that is entirely unique, not just to California, but globally, you know. Jim Morrison records L.A. Woman down the street here. There's a reason for that. It's absolutely no surprise. And I think that very spirit permeates today through experiences like Halloween Carnaval, but of course with West Hollywood Pride and Elton's annual event, et cetera. And there's a reason for it. It's a special place.
The president and CEO of Visit California always talks about the embarrassment of riches that California as a state has in terms of being a tourism mecca. And I always think, you know, West Hollywood really has the embarrassment of riches when it comes to what California stands for, you know, freedom of the heart, you know, creativity, the experience that you have here. But anyway, we're getting our way from ourselves a little bit. I want to go back to the beginning because it sounds like you're not from here.
My very strange accent was born in Dublin City, Ireland. Yeah, a little while ago. Yes.
And how? So, what was your pathway here?
I moved to New York after college in Dublin and spent 13 years in New York. Of course, another great city. Loved it. Arguably, if West Hollywood is the great small city of the world, New York is the great big city of the world. And then moved here with my wife, singer-songwriter Mairead, in 2005. And we've been domiciled here ever since. And our first step into California was the Pacific Design Center in West Hollywood. And we were instantly attracted to it. And West Hollywood was also graceful to be the venue where I launched my company in 2008, when Authentic was born.
Were you already doing the Halloween event in West Hollywood when that happened?
No, you know, 2009 would have been our first year. Okay. And among the reasons why Carnaval is so special to me personally and to the company is as we launched in 2008, we were encouraged to put a proposal together to create what would then have been the next chapter of Halloween Carnaval, where the city, in all of its great ambition, wanted to elevate the experience and add some more creative touch points. And we were very fortunate to be selected as the producing agency back in 2009, and of course our offices were right there on Robertson, and
perfect.
You know, there was very little need for our production offices since we had our facilities right there. So it was it's been many years of joy ever since. And
I want to get back to this, but you were already producing other events when you took over the Halloween Carnival,
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I've been producing entertainment properties like music festivals, cultural events, concert tours, activations in and around U.S. Open tennis and the Oscars, Grammys, Super Bowl for a number of years. And so we like to say that we create things that keep us schizophrenic enough to keep it interesting.
That's amazing. So those are no small events you just rattled off there.
We've been able to be a part of aspects of most of those properties, and it's been certainly not unexciting.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And I also read a long list. I said you could probably sit here and name drop for hours in terms of big names that you've brought to the table and produced and stuff like that. Any special kind of memories or things that kind of put you on the map, or special experiences to you personally?
Gosh, I mean, there's so many, Jeff. As a younger producer promoter in a club in New York City back in 1995, I had the pleasure of putting Bruce Springsteen back together with the E Street Band, who had been apart for 8 or 9 years. to do a very special music video, and then it turned into this spontaneous, extraordinary music moment where they played for 5 hours in our club.
Wow.
Dave Matthews playing The Great Lawn in Central Park, which we produced as a benefit for New York Public Schools under Mayor Bloomberg's then tenure. That was pretty special. And then, putting the Fugees back together for our clients at Verizon at Hollywood and Vine back in 2005 was a pretty cool thing too, where we again shut down the streets and created something pretty special, So there's been so many, but it's also been about collaboration and partners, and it's certainly not about me or any one individual. This is about building true partnership to create something special.
So how did you get into this gig in the first place? Like, I'm always interested in people's paths to what they're doing.
Yeah, a mix of craziness and tenacious and tenacious spirit, I guess, Jeff. Yeah. Growing up in Ireland, I was always inspired by and learned from some of the great, legendary promoters over on that side of the world, but also here. And music was my core passion, and so with a very fortuitous introduction, I got to become general manager of a music club in New York. During a really vibrant and vivacious and fertile period of music. And that started it. And from there, I became a team member with George Weins Festival Productions organization, a sister company of Festival Productions. They would have produced New Orleans Jazz Festival, Newport Folk, Newport Jazz, etc. The Playboy Jazz Festival here at the Hollywood Bowl. And we produced a number of things, including a music festival in and around the singer-songwriter tradition, featuring Van Morrison and the late and beautiful Sinead O'Connor, Tracy Chapman, Natalie Merchant, John Lee Hooker. And it was a very big, successful 4-year program that toured New York, Boston, Chicago, San Francisco. And from there, this notion of brands sponsoring events seemed to be culminating into brands wanting to own experiences more. And so with really creative clients like American Express and Verizon, for example, and Airbnb, we were able to do things that were truly creative, where they owned the experience inside and out as opposed to attaching their name. And that's where authentic began to be able to live. And we got very lucky in being able to produce some really, really fun and diverse things, from music and culture to film festival activations and onward to, tech conferences and representing brands at those big tech conferences, be that, CES or otherwise.
Right.
And we just try to keep it interesting and, again, ensure that we have enough diversity of creative content so that we can, we thought, deliver our best, the best of ourselves.
Right. That's a fascinating path, and obviously you're excellent at what you do and well respected. So that's why
still working at it. Jeff. Still working at it.
Keeps coming back. So you talk about experiential, and I think that's why brands, because it is about lifestyle, right? And that's why this year, 2023. Everyone is so excited to get Halloween back in West Hollywood because obviously the pandemic wreaked havoc on huge events, and that one in particular, right? And people wanted it so bad, so to get back to it. So let's go back to the first Halloween that you did. And what was Halloween in West Hollywood before you took a hold of it? And then what has kind of evolved since then?
Historically it had been, to a lesser or greater degree, a partnership with what was then Clear Channel Entertainment, and some local radio stations would come in and curate it. And that was great, except it wasn't necessarily an individual expression of the virtues and talents of West Hollywood. And so when we came in, we moved from a single stage experience to a multi-stage experience, moving from one main stage to what became 7 over the first few years there. And we attempted to curate it with music performances, DJ performances, performance art and dance, so that it could really engage the audience as a magnetizing experience, but also to ensure, and this is at the foundation of fingers crossed, the success of Carnival, is that it's got public safety at the forefront of this. And when you build multiple stages like that, you ensure that people are constantly moving, and there isn't this sense of everybody being caught in one location or another. And as wide as Santa Monica Boulevard is, from Doheny to La Cienega, and with all the activities in there, you want to make sure that stuff is moving. But in moving, it becomes a moving entertainment carousel, if you will. We've had some amazing hosts, and we've honored some extraordinary icons, from Queen Latifah to Boy George to Rihanna, and Pink has featured in Carnival, among many, many others. And it's just been it's been a great journey of evolution, and it comes again with huge partnership from all the city agencies, without which it's impossible for it to occur. I mean, it is the biggest gathering of people on a given boulevard in a given place on the planet. Upward to 500,000 people doesn't happen safely without all those great, folks who make sure that the planning is right, and that public safety is first and foremost.
It really is part of the DNA of West Hollywood to be able to do that, which I think is why the city is so supportive of what happens, because it does celebrate the creativity of what the city stands for. Yeah. So I think that helps. From the very beginning, was it always shut down from Doheny to La Cienega? Or has it grown over the years?
It's grown over the years. And before this crazy Irishman's time, Carnival developed just on a corner on the La Cienega end here. It's important to know that it wasn't Authentic that either created or is responsible for Halloween Carnaval. It's the denizens of the city who created it. And it's the denizens of the city who own it still, and it's absolute credit to them that it's their spirit that permeates through this extraordinary cultural event. But it did start at a smaller level, very ad hoc and very organic, and then over the years it began to expand, and things like media partnerships, on and off, became a part of the experience. With the great Lou Adler, we were able to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show with a reenactment of the Time Warp. And we set a Guinness Book of Records record that night, and he had members of the original cast that were able to be delivered to this. That was pretty extraordinary. That's cool. That probably couldn't have occurred in the first year, but that partnership with Fox Studios or with MTV for their MTV Awards show, where we featured some talent live on stage from West Hollywood. Robin was one of those artists at the time. Those were great, ways to expand the audience for and the sort of cultural footprint of what we were doing.
That's fascinating. What a cool list of experiences to have happened over the course of that time.
It's been great.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we talked about this a little bit, and I think I know what your answer is going to be, but as representatives of the tourism board for West Hollywood, we always try to tap into what the vibe is in West Hollywood. So what would you say, has been kind of the unique aspect of West Hollywood that has allowed, not only for you to be doing it for as long as you have to put on this event, but also, what is it here? What is it about here that makes it different?
Here's the thing. It's about individual expression and being in a place that permits that expression. I mentioned earlier that it was no surprise that certain cultural moments happen in West Hollywood. I reiterate that when I say what the city is able to provide for the people of the city here, more than most cities on the planet, is this sense of I can express myself, and I can do it without any sense of critique or judgment, and I can do it in a community of truly diverse fellow citizens, and do it in a way that is entertaining and fun, and I can come back and do it again. And I think that's the biggest part of it. We are not the only Halloween event on the planet. There are many, many great ones. But this is unique in that every block that you pass down Santa Monica Boulevard, Jeff, is like a mini theater. It's a mini performance by the folks who have put the effort in to express themselves. And I think that's the unique DNA of Carnaval. Yeah. And I don't believe, sincerely, that any other city can provide the platform and the portal for that kind of expression to occur, because of the merits and the values of the city of West Hollywood.
That's really insightful and I think accurate. I would completely agree. The pandemic, we talked about a little bit. This is the first year back in 3 years, I think, right? Or it was.
It's actually the first one back since 2019. Yeah. Okay. So there was an obvious hiatus, and the city had been very keen to do what they could to stimulate economic activity with the many small businesses in the last couple of years, but there wasn't a full-blown carnival. And truthfully, we're coming back to this with a phased approach where 2023 will be meaningful in terms of scale. 2024 hopefully will be even larger still. But there's a beautiful focus that exists for 2023 that was also the case in the celebration of Halloween for the last couple of years, which is, let's do something that is really great for the local restaurants and the cafes and retail, and of course the bars that get to have a big night, and also in their way contribute meaningfully to the whole experience. You'll have bars coming out and doing their own individual activations, or restaurants, and then you'll have activity after we have an official close of the event at 11 p.m. There'll still be activity along the boulevard, and it's a real festival celebration.
Right. You answered this a little bit, but what can people expect to be different this year than they might have expected before? Like, what is this year's experience going to be like?
We're back to a large stage on San Vicente and Santa Monica. We'll have some great BIPOC and diverse DJ artists performing there. We'll have some, as I said, local businesses doing their thing, and some art curation, Instagrammable locations that we're working with some local artists on. And this latter aspect, Jeff, is an area that I'm very keen to develop over the next phase of Carnival, because as much as the stages are important, it's really about the sort of immersive aural and visual experience that matters. Right. Born out of and with the community.
Yeah.
So those aspects are things that I'm keen to develop a little bit more as we go on here, and the city has been tremendously supportive in helping that.
Yeah, I know everybody's excited to get it back. In terms of scale, street closures again from like it happens on Santa Monica Boulevard and on San Vicente Boulevard, right?
That's correct. From San Vicente to La Cienega will be a full closure. There are some other activities further west of San Vicente that aren't part of the official Carnival, but that are there too and available for the community to enjoy. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing. We take the site at midnight on the 31st.
Okay, this is what I'm going to ask you about. In terms of getting it together.
It's certainly a crazy SWAT team that gets this done. We start at midnight. We begin to build our production and plant and machinery and main stage through that overnight hours. Then there's an official close of Santa Monica Boulevard at noon, and we continue to build. And we are show ready by 6 o'clock, and you start to see folks start to inhabit the boulevard 4 or 5 o'clock, and it just builds and it builds and it builds. And then by peak time, you have this extraordinary mass of humanity, having fun. And I should say, with fingers crossed again, having fun in an extremely safe way, in a mutually respectful way. It's really, it's so unique in that fashion.
So they don't close the streets until noon on Halloween Day?
They don't close Santa Monica Boulevard till noon.
Wow.
We do close
some areas.
San Vicente from Santa Monica to Melrose the night before. But, if you are familiar with the time-lapse video, it's like doing that in real time on Halloween Carnaval for West Hollywood, because everybody is scurrying, but they're scurrying with a purpose. Everybody knows exactly what their mission is. They know what their focus needs to be. And the amazing team that I'm a part of gets it done, and it's amazing that we get it done. It's even more amazing that we're able to return the streets by 7 a.m. the following morning. And if you showed up on the 30th of October and happened to go somewhere else and came back on November 1st at 8 a.m., you wouldn't know anything had happened.
So amazing.
But if you were there, you'd know a whole lot has happened.
Yeah. Except for you're exhausted by that point.
There's always time for sleep.
So is it just, I'm curious about team, like it's a team of hundreds, I'm assuming, that needs to put something like this on.
Yeah, about 240 people. And, staging, fencing, bathrooms, medical tent infrastructure, which of course is incredibly important. And there's a wonderful team that manages that. And you have if you will, a private-public partnership in a microcosm around Halloween Carnival, because you have all of the sheriff's deputies, fire, community safety, the city's janitorial and cleanup teams, barricade vendors to ensure that when we make this an open access site, which we do, and remember, it's delivered free by the city.
Right.
It's not a hard ticket.
Right.
It's a complete free entertainment.
Incredible.
And that's an extraordinary thing that the city gifts, because something of this scale typically would have a very meaningful ticket price against it.
Absolutely.
But because it's open, again, and because there's multiple access points, barricading is important so that we know that vehicular traffic doesn't become a part of this in an inadvertent and not respectful way, I guess.
Yeah. I like that you brought up that it's free and how much infrastructure there is for well-being, health, and safety, because that is so important, obviously, to the city, and it's what I think makes the event successful, as well as all of the craziness and all the fun that happens there. It's that it's going to be good and okay.
And for West Hollywood Travel and Tourism, of course, it's a local community event, but the broad community that gets attracted to coming into West Hollywood, spending a night or spending 2 nights, eating in the great restaurants that are available here for folks, partying into the evening in the great bar locations, and a diverse and deep audience that comes from not just West Hollywood, not just the Southland, not just California, but around the nation.
Yeah. Let's. So we've talked a lot about Halloween. I want to talk about you personally. Like you're in West Hollywood. You've talked a lot about what you believe the spirit of the place is. Let's just talk about, like, if someone was coming here from somewhere else, what are places that you would recommend that they go? Like, what are some of your favorites in West Hollywood? Do you have either a favorite hotel or a restaurant or bar or place here?
I do, and I've probably spent time in most all of them. I'm for a time, Cicconi's was my commissary, just down the road on Robertson.
The PDC,
I'm a big fan of Alisai Sushi, just a little sushi place here, right by Palm Car Wash. I've always loved what they do.
Nice.
Zinc Coffee Shop is always a great place, and good to take a breakfast in. Earth Cafe was the first place I had a coffee in West Hollywood when we were coming here with American Express to do a great photo exhibit with Annie Leibovitz called Rewarding Lives. And we spent a number of days loading that in with the then head of experiences for the center, and now the wonderful president of the chamber, Genevieve Morel. And she and I would go and have coffee at Earth and formerly Le Pan and various other places. So Melrose, holds a very special place in my heart because that was my first landing pad, right? And I remember having a coffee at Earth with Magic Johnson and going, this is not a bad way to be welcomed into the city here,
Yeah. Everybody has those stories.
Yeah.
Hey, I was able to sit across from John Legend at dinner last night.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what makes it cool, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate this discussion, and obviously you're really valued by the city, and this event is amazing, and I think a cornerstone of what people expect from West Hollywood. So what you're doing, matters obviously to us as the Tourism Bureau, but I think it also is important for just people to be able to get out and express themselves and have some fun at Halloween.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Jeff, for having me, and it's a pleasure to do this, and thank you for your support.
Of course.
And for everything that we're doing here.